And actually, Pastor Tapp, God already saved my life. If you understood the story, the experts do in fact confirm that it was a miracle that I actually lived from what happened at that MRI facility. And because what he did literally should have killed me. Once I became unconscious, and there was no guarantee that I was going to, in the first place, wake up alive, and in the second place, to actually not have any brain injuries. So you can say that God already saved my life, and I do understand that God will continue to save my life. And so that part is taken care of in addition to the salvation part. So you need to check on your stuff, Pastor Tapp. So the major problem caused by the MRI facility is an aneurysm in the ascending aorta. Now that's actually a life-threatening condition. It can actually get much bigger at any time and rupture, and there's usually not much warning to it. And I do lift weights, and apparently it can happen while I'm lifting weights, and it doesn't even have to get any bigger. While lifting weights, that aneurysm can literally rupture and kill someone. And that ascending aorta is the exact same condition that John Ritter had. John Ritter's ascending aorta was even smaller than mine 2 years before he died. So Pastor Tapp, I gave you the evidence, my heart basically squeaky clean. What the radiologist says is, what the heck is going on? Why is my heart in this kind? My arteries are squeaky clean. So I'm not this person who's having the cardiovascular symptoms like you described, but these are specific injuries. An aneurysm to the aorta, and at the same time, I don't show any other kind of issues in any other part of my cardiovascular system showing any kind of hypertension or calcification. So there are none of these issues. So, these are strictly problems caused by medical practitioners, and they were caused instantly. They were not there before this year, and they happen instantly, and you're attributing them to some long process, some lifetime process of really poor habits, and then topping off with some anxiety or stress over that. But that has nothing to do with my case. It's basically like I was shot and I was run over, right? That's basically what it is. I was shot with a gun by one person and somebody else ran me over, and you're trying to claim it's some ridiculous lifetime poor habits on my part. So instead of helping me, Pastor Tapp, and I didn't ask you for much, all I asked you is to get an appointment with them. And I can kind of handle my legal stuff on my own, and since the evidence is overwhelming against these people, it's not an issue of even standard of care. It's so over the top. Literally what the guy did at the MRI facility is something what Dr. Joseph Mengele did. It's Mengele stuff. It's not done. You don't see it in the medical literature because it's something so illegal, and it's something only a mass murderer would do. It's not something a normal person would do. And then this other doctor who basically, since she wants to cover up, she literally prescribes the worst drug to me. Literally the drug that's the only drug, literally, which would really cause me harm. And that's the drug she prescribed, all because she wanted to cover up. And she knew everything that was going on at that point. So, the harm happens to me instantly to my cardiovascular system, and there's so much evidence. And look here, Pastor Tapp, and I have the support of so many others. That's an incredible thing. Even though the medical community, they try to protect each other, Now, I did mention to Pastor Tapp that within this neurology practice, there were, other than this doctor who was my treating neurologist, there was 4 other neurologists. And guess what? 3 out of 4 resigned, Pastor Tapp. So if 3 out of 4 neurologists, which is unprecedented, it never happens, Pastor Tapp. Nowhere because of medical malpractice do 3 out of 4 of a doctor's colleagues resign. But they did because they support me, Dr. Tapp. They just abandoned their patients and their medical school students, and they got the hell out of town, and they basically went to places which are, much lower paying, kind of less prestigious jobs, because they don't want to practice, they don't want to participate in the misconduct. So you basically have 3 out of 4 of this doctor's fellow neurologists agreeing and being on my side. And then on top of that, I did reach out to some other people, and actually a physician writes to me, and I showed you this letter, Pastor Tapp. The physician writes to me, the issues you have are administrative, meaning with the medical board, legal, and medical. So it tells you what the issues are, and then it also says, I wish you success with justice and good health. Now, what exactly is that doctor telling me? He's telling me he wishes me success with justice and good health. So that's the 2 things I need. Do you understand that, Pastor Tapp? If there were not a situation where misconduct was conducted, where misconduct occurred, then there's no need for justice, right, Pastor Tapp? If, as you say, if I caused the problem myself, or even if we say that it was a mistake on their part, if it's a mistake on their part even, you don't need justice. Why do you need justice, Pastor Tapp? It's all over the Bible, because they did something wrong. That's why I need justice. And then he also is wishing me success in getting good health. So he recognizes exactly the harm which was done. And guess what, Pastor Tapp? Another individual who is not a physician, but who would actually be an expert in this area, he wrote back to me saying that the physician's license should be suspended. Now, not the one who prescribed the medication, but he's talking about the MRI tech who injected that way into my body. So he thinks that person should lose their license for good. Now, obviously, he doesn't know what really happens with the medical boards, that they really protect their own and no one really loses their license. But at least he knows what's going on. So Pastor Tapp, I have all this evidence, all these people supporting my side, and you're coming and trying to tell me some rubbish about me being worried. I'm not worried, and even if I were worried, that would have nothing to do with my condition, Pastor Tapp. You understand that very clearly. You're an educated man. You know what's going on. But you may be an educated man, but we know to the depths you will sink when you are commanded by your master. Because let me tell you what else you did, Pastor Tapp, during that sermon. You made a demonstration of you working in the mud. Now, that's kind of a euphemism. You kind of see what's going on. It shows, you're basically in the mud. So why are you talking about being in the mud? And then you're actually in front of the church. You're on the pulpit. You're barking like a dog. You're talking about a dog coming and barking at you, and you make the sounds of various kinds of dogs. So you're reduced to this, Pastor Tapp. You're talking about being in the mud, and you're making the sounds of a dog, because they're commanding you to do it. They're commanding you to try to fool me, right? Is that what they're doing? They're commanding you to fool me. I'm not fooled, Pastor Tapp. I know exactly what's going on. If someone shot you and someone ran you over, yeah, that's what happened. You are trying to tell me that I'm to blame. You have some nerve, Pastor Tapp. How can I be to blame? Right? So all I asked you for some help, and you're basically coming and telling me that I'm to blame because your masters told you to say that. Okay, Pastor Tapp, it's not because of something you had in your mind. They commanded you to say it, and you're passing it on. That's why you don't respond to my emails, because you know you're wrong. And so you created this entire one sermon. Now, I never bothered checking on any of your other sermons, Pastor Tapp, because I'm not going to waste my time on you. So I never bothered going, and even with this sermon, I didn't look it through all that well. But this is kind of the basic information that I got. That what you're really saying is that I should sit and wait for help from God, and I should not worry. But I'm not worried anyway. And that I should not go and pound at these people. Now, they're a big giant gorilla, is a large corporation, Innova, and you're telling me that if I take them on, it's like taking on the Alps. I'm not really accomplishing anything. That's not true, Dr. Tapp. Those people did not resign because I was pounding the Alps, That's a great accomplishment that I had, which 3 out of 4 of those doctors resigned. And that was, it's not because I'm pounding at the Alps. It's because I'm really making some progress. So you didn't want to help me, but at the same time you're trying to deter me. You're trying to deter me from going forward because you are trying to protect your buddies, Pastor Tapp. So obviously, anyone has the problem with any kind of medical practice anywhere. Don't go talk to Pastor Tapp, because you know which side he's on. Even with this overwhelming evidence, everything, he still comes back with this nonsense, trying to deceive me. And now we know. Now I think I know where the enemy at the gate was. It was you, Pastor Tapp. It was you. It was you as the enemy at the gate. When I reached out, that was the mistake I made, which was asking you for help. And I should have seen all the signs about you, that what you have done in the past and how you have even behaved. You were sacrificing the kids at the church to Moloch. Man, if you have a pastor sacrificing the kids in his church to Moloch, the same kids the Jehovah's Witness and the Mormons will be happy to get in their places. Man, if you got a pastor like that, he'll do anything. And I should have thought about it, but I didn't think it through. But it looks like, that's what happened. You set the enemy at the gate. That's basically what I found. Now, you did make one mistake too. The enemy at the gate, really, it wasn't like a roaring lion. I do realize now, whether it's you or Innova or if it's Adventist Healthcare, I'm not going to give you the credit of being called a liar. I would call you a word that goes with kitty cat, which starts with P. That's basically what you are, a bunch of those. Okay, that's what you guys are, a bunch of those. I mean, basically, you're a bunch of those who sit in a big tank, and so I mean, that's the word. I mean, individually, which I found out when I went up against Innova. Individually, they were very easy to go through. I could slice through them just like butter. But I do understand they're a big corporation. So, and now we know that Pastor Tapp stands with the big corporations if they're a hospital or if they're a medical practice, and he doesn't side with the patient who was harmed. And finally, Pastor Tapp, you do have to think. You did mention that